When the school's most privileged bully picks the wrong black girl to humiliate, the outcome is anything but expected. Naomi Grant, a brilliant student from a modest middle-class background, had earned her place at Eastbridge High through sheer intelligence and a hard-won scholarship. But that didn't stop Braden Cross, the arrogant golden boy of Eastbridge, from constantly targeting her without reason. During a debate club presentation, he sets his sights on tearing Naomi down, fully expecting her to crumble under his words. But instead of silence, something entirely different unfolds. Eastbridge High, an elite private school for the wealthy, where according to some, only the right kind of students belonged, was no stranger to moments like this. And right now, the entire assembly hall was fixated on one. Naomi sat at the debate table, mind sharp, arguments ready. But fate had other plans. Sitting across from her with a smirk dripping entitlement was Braden Cross. Tall, blonde, always dressed in designer brands, and worst of all, absolutely convinced of his superiority. He had money, influence, and a reputation for humiliating anyone he deemed beneath him. And today, his target was Naomi. She knew what was coming before he even opened his mouth. Well, Braden drawled, leaning back in his chair like he owned the room. His voice oozed mockery. Didn't know they let charity cases into the big leagues. Hope you can keep up, Naomi. The auditorium seemed to hold its breath. Some students shifted in their seats. Others leaned in, eager to see how this would play out. But no one interrupted. Eastbridge had an unspoken rule. When Braden Cross decided to break someone, you let him. Naomi gripped the edge of the table. She had spent too many days brushing off his passive-aggressive digs, too many months pretending his words didn't sting. But today felt different. She wasn't just another girl in a debate tournament. She was a girl who had fought for her place. The daughter of a single mother who worked late shifts to afford her tuition. A girl who had learned early that she had to be twice as good, twice as prepared, just to be seen as equal. A girl who had walked through these halls hearing whispers, feeling stares, and being told in 100 small ways that she didn't belong. But today she was done pretending. Exhaling slowly, she met his gaze. I'm right where I belong, Braden, but I'd understand if you're feeling threatened. Wrong answer. For him, at least. Braden's smirk tightened as he straightened, his posture turning rigid. Oh, you think you can talk to me like that? His voice dropped lower, controlled but laced with warning. This school wasn't made for people like you. A murmur rippled through the crowd. The school media club's cameras were rolling. This wasn't just another debate. This was something bigger. Something that no one would forget. This was a show. Naomi tilted her head, locking eyes with him. You really don't want to do this, she said, her voice calm, too calm. Braden scoffed. Or what? You gonna throw a tantrum? Maybe beg for sympathy? His tone was smug, soaked in entitlement. Face it, Naomi, you don't belong here. A hush fell over the auditorium. The school media club's cameras kept rolling, and hundreds of students sat on the edge of their seats. This wasn't just a debate anymore. It was a moment, a defining one. Naomi took a deep breath, steadying her thoughts. All right, he asked for it. She straightened, leaning slightly toward the microphone. That's funny, Braden, she said smoothly, because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're the one struggling to keep up. A ripple of whispers spread through the audience. Braden's smirk faltered, just for a second. Cute, he muttered, gripping the edge of the table. Let's see how long that confidence lasts. Naomi's lips curled into the faintest smile. Confidence, she echoed. No, Braden, this is just facts. And then she went in. Point by point, she dismantled his argument with razor-sharp precision, countering every flawed statement, every cheap insult disguised as logic. Her voice remained steady, her words cutting, her composure unshaken. Braden tried to interrupt, but Naomi raised her voice. She didn't have to. Then came the final blow. Naomi leaned forward slightly, locking eyes with him. You talk a lot about who belongs here, Braden, but remind me, what's it like to be the only one in this room who's actually losing? The silence was absolute. Braden sat frozen, his grip tightening around his pen until his knuckles turned white. Then, oh my God, someone whispered. Laughter followed. Then claps, then cheers. The energy in the room was electric. Naomi sat back, calm and composed, as the debate moderator struggled to regain control. Students whispered, nudged each other, pulled out their phones to capture the moment. Braden Cross, Eastbridge High's golden boy, had just been intellectually torn apart in front of the entire school. Braden's jaw tightened as he sat stiffly in his chair, his face darkening with frustration. This wasn't over. Not even close. By lunchtime, the entire school had heard. Yo, she straight up destroyed him. I didn't know Naomi had it in her. She's a genius, bro. People who had never spoken to Naomi before suddenly wanted to sit with her. They wanted to know how she did it, where she learned to debate like that, if she could teach them. But not everyone was celebrating. Braden wasn't just embarrassed, he was furious. By the next morning, Eastbridge High wasn't just talking about Naomi shutting Braden down, they were fixated on it. The video had blown up overnight. It wasn't just being passed around in student group chats anymore, it had made its way to Instagram, TikTok, even Twitter. The title? Rich Kid Gets Schooled by Black Girl at Eastbridge High School. Braden had built his reputation like a fortress, untouchable, respected, feared. And in just a few hours, it had collapsed into a joke. His face was a meme. His name was trending for all the wrong reasons. He tried to act like it didn't bother him, but it did. Yo, Braden, you good? Someone smirked in the hallway. Hey, maybe Naomi can tutor you, another one laughed. Braden's fists clenched. His own friends avoided him. Teachers gave him that look, the one that said, we saw the video too. And at home, it was even worse. Braden, his father's voice had been sharp that morning. We don't lose, and we definitely don't lose to charity cases. Braden swallowed the anger burning in his throat. This wasn't over. It couldn't be. And there was only one way to fix that, by making Naomi Grant regret ever humiliating him. Naomi should have seen it coming. Maybe if she hadn't been so caught up in dodging high fives and answering endless questions about her debate skills, she would have noticed the whispers. The way people looked at her with a mix of admiration and unease. The way Braden and his friends stayed unusually quiet that morning, watching her from a distance. But she didn't. So when lunchtime rolled around and she got a text from an unknown number, meet me after school. No cameras. Let's settle this. She had no idea what was coming. Behind him stood 3 students, his usual crew, the ones who laughed at his insults, backed him in every argument, and made sure his ego stayed untouched. So that's how it was going to be. Naomi sighed. 4 against 1? Wow. You must really feel threatened. Braden's jaw tightened. Shut up. He stepped forward, then another. His eyes were different now, colder, harsher. This isn't about being threatened, he sneered. It's about respect. Naomi folded her arms. You mean damage control? Braden smirked. I mean making sure you never forget your place. Naomi's stomach twisted. She'd heard those words before, from people like him, people who thought they owned places like Eastbridge, who believed people like her didn't belong. She took a slow breath. Stay calm, stay sharp. Then, Braden made his move. Sloppy, predictable. All emotion, no logic. Naomi countered effortlessly, breaking down his argument with ease. Amateur. Then his friends jumped in. One tried to flood her with facts, another threw out a cheap personal jab. She didn't flinch. With precision, she dismantled their points one by one. Each time, their confidence wavered, their voices lost just a little more strength. Braden hesitated. Big mistake. Naomi seized control, delivering a final, undeniable statement that left them speechless. The room went still. 3 down, 1 left. Braden's frustration was all over his face. He scrambled for words, but none came. His reputation, his power, everything rested on this moment, and he was losing. Naomi leaned in slightly, her voice unwavering. Final. You spent years trying to make people fear you, Braden. Guess what? Now they just pity you. A sharp gasp rippled through the room. Braden's breath caught, his fists curled beneath the table. His friends shifted uncomfortably, looking away, embarrassed, defeated. They had lost, humiliated, again. By the next morning, Eastbridge High had a new queen. No one feared Braden anymore. They respected Naomi. No one whispered about her behind her back. They whispered about what would happen if you dared to challenge her. And Braden? He learned the hard way. There are some people in this world you just don't mess with.